Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my podcast. I'm still working out on the name. I believe I'm gonna go with anime talk or story time. Still figuring that part out. Again, my name is Antoinette Eastman, and on this channel, I'll be talking about anime. And today, I am going to do 3 shows. We'll be talking about Shadow's House, Episode 2, Fairytale, and one of my other favorite, D-Grayman. I haven't rewatched that in such a long time, but I'm gonna rewatch it and give you guys my intake on it. So we're gonna start out with Fairytale. And Fairytale started out as with a narration of being from the kingdom of Fury. It's saying it's a magical kingdom with 17 million people, and that everyone is like depending on magic, and like one of the highlights is like the wizard girl. And I believe the gills are like one of the strongest representations of fairy tale. So in fairy tale, I think there are like 4 main characters, I believe. There's Natsu Dragneel. If you've all watched it before, he's that pink haired dude that was trained by a dragon. Then there's Lucy Heartfilia. I believe she's a celestial wizard. And then you have Ezra Scarlet and Gare Fullbuster. And the 2 cats, Happy and Carla. And her owner, Wendy, I believe. So the setting starts off in the town of Aragon. Or is it the city? I believe it's probably the city that's called Aragon. And the town is Port Town. You see Natsu and Happy. Happy is Natsu's cat, his companion. He's a magical flying blue cat. And they're looking for a salamander. So the salamander they're looking for is the dragon Igneo who raised Natsu into the fire-breathing wizard that he is. And then you see Lucy looking for a new gate key at a store. And the store owner tries to rip her off, but she only try to negotiate just a little bit, but was kind of unsuccessful. So we see Natsu having motion sickness riding on the train. I think the only time he doesn't have motion sickness is when he's being flown by his cat Happy. So the rumor he went to check out in the port town about the salamander he heard was like a magician that does, I would say like a magician that does cheap tricks. And he throws like love bomb magics to make the ladies like fall for him instant. And I believe Natsu bumped into Lucy, and that's how they met, and she became aware that she was being under a spell, a charm spell. And after that, she kind of like was made aware of the magician salamanders and how he's a trickster and not like a real wizard salamander. And to thank Natsu for that, she treated them to lunch. And she like basically told them about her plans about Sorcerer Weekly and joining a guild, one of her favorite guild. And they eat a lot for a cat. I know boys are supposed to eat a lot, but they like eat her out of pocket. So like after that meeting, they like went their separate ways, and I believed she was like sitting down and thinking, and this creeper wizard just jumped out of the bush, like very stalkerish, like out of nowhere, jumped out of the bush. The fake salamander guy, and said to Lucy that, oh, I wanted to invite you on my boat, because he was listening to her talk to herself about being in Sorcerer Weekly and being like and wanting to be a member of Fairytale because of it. And he said, and she was like, she called him out for being a scammer and says like, I know you try to fool ladies with a charm spell and it won't work twice when you're aware of it. So he tried to con her and says, but I am the great salamander wizard from Fairytale, and I could get you in if you only come to my party. And that's how he tricked her into getting her over to her party, to his like yacht party. And there you see, after she's there, he like had some goons hidden, and he tried a love bomb spell again, and it didn't work on Lucy. And she was like pretty upset, as any normal person would be, like, for tricking her. And he had his goons come out and try to kidnap all the ladies and try to sell them all. And Lucy tried to use her gate key, and one of her gate keys, and he just took it and threw it like in the water. Like at that same time, Natsu was still walking around town, and he overheard some ladies talking about the salamander wizard, and saying that he was from Fairytale. And that kind of pissed Natsu off, because he knew he'd never seen that guy in Fairytale before, and he was not the Igneal that he was like searching for. And I do believe he told Lucy that Igneal was a dragon that they were searching for. And the dragons are supposed to have disappeared, like, probably like some couple 100 years or so. Which is kind of crazy, because if they disappeared for like so long, how old is Natsu? Like, if they disappeared that long, it really like got me thinking, like, how old is really Natsu? That the dragon disappeared for like 1,000 years. How old really is Natsu? Like, because the dragon trained him, so that's kind of like, kind of got me thinking. And then Natsu's character is a little bit of a hothead. He's very intuitive, but a little crazy sometimes. So he just jumps over onto the boat and he started his tough talk in order to save Lucy, and he just automatically fell into his motion sickness. But Lucy was able to escape with Happy. Happy just took her, and she ended up diving into the water and finding her celestial key, which I thought was interesting. Like, she was able to know where it was to get it. Maybe that's some sort of, like, I don't know, celestial was a connection with their keys or something like that. Who knows? So while Natsu was on the boat being motion sickness, trying to save the people, Lucy called on her water maiden, Aquarius, and she was mad. She's like one of those savvy water spirits, and she was like, "How dare you drop my key? Let my key got thrown in the water again, and if you ever let my key got thrown down, it's gonna be a problem." And I thought that was like funny as hell. So that's Lucy told her to like create a like some sort of like water wave to bring the boat ashore. So the fake guy couldn't like escape with the girls, and she created a tidal wave, and she lumped Lucy and Happy and just smashed them all on shore because she was still pretty pissed about getting her key thrown in the water. And she was like, "Don't call me in certain days because I have a date with my boyfriend." And Lucy was like, "Okay, I got it." And like after the ship landed, not the ship, the yacht landed on the shore, Natsu fell out of his motion sickness funk. And then he whooped that man's ass. In that way, he found out the fake wizard found out that he's the real deal, the real fairy tale wizard. And I believe they ended up destroying the port and calling up the police. And Natsu took Lucy, and they started running, and he told her, and Natsu told Lucy that he's from Fairytale, and she decided to go with him. And I don't know if they ran back to the train station. I believe that's where they ran to, and then the episode just ended there, because that's where like Natsu and Lucy's journey starts to begin. And now we're gonna move on to one of my other favorite shows, D-Grayman. I have rewatched that like a million times. To me, it's one of the best animes out there. So I'm gonna give you a little intro to it for those who may not have watched it, but you should go watch it. So D-Grayman is about, and it's more like an angel. I wouldn't say angel, probably good versus evil kind of anime. And the good people are the exorcists, and they're fighting a battle against the evil Akuma, who creates Akuma from the people's grief. Like, if someone dies, he'll like visit them and prey on the griever and like ask them to call their soul in this like mechanical thing that he built. And once their soul is called into that machine, they become an Akuma, and then he tells the soul to kill the person that caused them and wear their skin, which is just evil in many ways. And then they become killing monsters that try to evolve. And the exorcists are the only ones that can kill Akuma. They have these special weapons. And I believe they have something that's called innocence. Every exorcist has something that's called innocence embedded in them to help defeat Akuma. So the story starts out and you see like the exorcist flag symbols just blowing in the wind. And then you see Ellen traveling with a circus. I believe the title of the episode is called The Boy Who Hunts Akuma. So he's traveling with the circus. I believe he's trying to get to the order. And the order is where the exorcists go. Like, I guess, where exorcists go to be exorcists. And that's where they get their missions, is from the order. I believe the order is supposed to be like some sort of like a church, like, or is associated with a church. And you see Alan traveling with the circus through the back of the carriage. He's dressed like a fortune teller. And then you see another scene. There were cops that were investigating an abandoned building. The whole scene gives old English. You know, like those old English vampire movies that you'll see. And the police were all dressed like Scotland Yards. That's how they were dressed. It's like, I don't know if the scene was supposed to look like London, but that's what it gave. Like this London look. So the cops went in to investigate, and while they were investigating, I believe Alan like swooped down in in the form of bat. I thought it was one of the Kuma. I didn't even know it was Alan. This like swarm of bats, and and he grabbed the police officer. Turned out that he, by mistake, who officer then arrested him in the other room. Turns out that he was looking for a cat. Apparently, the cat swallowed his communicator, Tim Campy. So all exorcists have like communicators. They're all like, how would I describe what the communicator looks like? It's like a cyclone bat. That's how, like a cyclone bat. So an eye with wings is what it looks like. An eye with bat wings. So his was called Tim Campy. And later on, you'll see him talk about his master, more about his master that trained him to be an exorcist, called General Cross. And so I guess the cat swallowed Tim Campy, and he was trying to get Tim Campy back. So the officer arrested him, and while he was upstairs, the Akuma found the other officer that was downstairs and killed him. I guess, so the bullets that the Akuma shoots are poisonous to human, and regular guns can't work on them. Only exorcists can kill an Akuma. So he tries to warn Alan tries to warn the officer about Akuma and how dangerous they were. But after she went down to check on her fellow officer, she saw, I guess Alan was able to save her. He got shot in the hand. He put his Akuma weapon hand in the way when the Akuma shot at her, and was able to, like, and then there was like gas coming from it, and and I believe the officer fainted because he did like cover up her nose for her because she was just acting a little scattered, like not, and so he covered her, and then she just fainted from like a little bit of the gas, but she wasn't able to inhale, so she survived. So at the precinct, like, Alan was being accused of being the culprit that killed the officer, and it's like in charge, and who was the one that did all those missing people that went into the building, in the church building. Because that was the reason the officers went into that building. Because a lot of people was going missing in that building. And the only reason there was because the Akuma kept killing them. So after the officer wakes up, she was asked to explain what happened and why she fell asleep. Like, her supervisor, he was tripping. He was mad that she passed out as an officer. And she, like, vouched for Alan to say that Alan was with her when her partner was attacked. But then Alan became under surveillance. Like, I believe he was still arrested. And I believe after she went home, like, after Ellen explained to her where Nakuma was, like, and she went home, and then you started to see, like, her backstory. Her brother, or was it her brother-in-law? Yes, her brother-in-law. She lived with her brother-in-law. I believe they show the story of their wedding, the wedding day of her brother-in-law and her sister while they were at church. She had just had an argument with her sister because her sister didn't agree with her becoming a cop because she felt like she wanted to be a cop to avenge, like, her parents' death, and her sister didn't agree with that, and she was saying she wanted justice. So then her brother-in-law was telling her, like, they'll get through the argument. And then the bell that was hanging over the husband fell, and the sister pushed him out the way, and she got crushed by the bell. And in his grief, like, the Kuma came to him and said that he can bring his darling his darling back from his detestable god. In some ways, like, Akuma is also the Millennium Earl. It kind of reminds me of that time that when we had that whole Y2K thing. I wonder if that's what inspired the writer. You know, like when we were all going through that time where Judgment was coming, the whole Y2K bug. Like, I'm thinking that's what inspired the writer. So, like I explained before, after he called his beloved back into the Akuma, and she realized she became an Akuma, like, she was like, why? And then the Earl told the Akuma to kill her fiance and wear his skin. And the Akumas, they can't refuse an order from the Millennium Earl, right? And their job as Akuma is to continue to kill and evolve. And so, while she was in the house, I don't believe she brought food to him, but he wasn't eating, and he says like, "Oh, I'll get hungry later." And that's like one of the tell signs, like, people should be like, that I noticed, that when a person becomes an Akuma, they don't eat regular food. They just, I guess, killing sustains them, I guess. They don't really need food because they're just monsters now. So she gave him the food and then she walked out the room. And at that time, Alan came over to her house. And I don't know if he came into her house. He was just there. They didn't show him going over there. So it seemed like he was placed in custody, and the officer was his babysitter, basically watching him. And I believe they were all going to the whole priest, not the whole precinct, just majority of the precinct, like the superintendent, her boss. They were all going back to the church to investigate. And Alan was trying to warn her and tell her, remind her again about how dangerous it is and Akuma is. And then her brother was hearing this conversation in the other room and decided to come in. His Akuma sense, like made him come in. And then it shows like he just started before he started to transform. I guess Alan had like an Akuma detection eye. He can see the souls of the Akuma, so he can see them before he transformed. And so the Akuma transformed in the room, and he just took her and like, cause she lived like right across from the building, and he like, in the nick of time, Alan was able to save her, cause he just like burst out of skin. I'm like, that's so creepy. Like, he just literally burst out of the man's skin into an Akuma, and they look so hideous. I compliment the artist for drawing the Akuma. It was really good. And so the Akuma went over back to the church where where all the police officers were, and Ellen chased after him, and the officer chased after Alan. And inside the building, he was able to massacre like all the police officer. And at the same time, when he wanted to shoot her, he tried to cover her and the cat because he was still chasing the cat. And the cat got shot up. And died, and Tim Campy was eventually, that's how Tim Campy got released from the cat. And Alan told, because Alan is able to see the soul of the Akuma, he told her that that's no longer your brother, and he told her that was he didn't know that it was her sister. He told her he saw a woman and how she's in agony. And he transformed his hand into a gun and shoot the Akuma and kill it. And at the end, like, she, like, thanked him for saving her life. And he started to head it back to his journey. I believe he took a train this time to go to the other, and that's how, like, the episode ended. And I was like, they compacted a lot in that episode, and I was like, well, I wanted to watch it again. So I'm going to go on to my other favorite, Shadow House, episode 2. If you listened to me last time, I did episode 1 in my previous podcast, so I'm getting you guys caught up on episode 2. So, in episode 2 for Shadow House, you know, in the first episode we were just introduced to Kate and her doll, Emilico. So the episode started out with Kate narrating a bit. She was just looking around and seeing like all the soot that she had emitted when she was asleep, and she was becoming disgusted that it was everywhere. You see it on the lamp, on the ceiling, and she was like, I guess she kind of deserved, kind of like a germophobia, like soot phobia. That's what we're gonna call it. She had like a soot phobia session. Like, she was just like filthy, filthy, filthy. She was just going off until like she puts herself back to sleep. And then you see Emilico just getting up, you know, in her chair. I believe I told you before that Emilico is like a cheerful character. She got up, got started, and they gave her the crunchy old hard rock bread that they give. And I'm like, how is that suitable for breakfast? Like, just bread. Right. So after she got ready and she went over to Kate's room, and Kate was asleep, so she waited outside for a bit until Kate wakes up. And then Kate tries to play it cool, like, she tells Emilico that shadows emit soot like when they sleep, so there's gonna be extra soot, pretending like she wasn't the one that caused the extra soot when she was complaining, because we all know that shadows she emits soot when she's like has negative emotion, and she woke up in that soot phobe and started like emitting crazy soot. So Miracle goes ahead with her usual cleaning, and Kate told her that she's gotten better at cleaning, and that and because she got better at cleaning, she's going to clean elsewhere with other dolls. And I was like, that's nice. There's other dolls around we're going to get introduced to. So you see that so the first person doll that she got introduced to was Mia. And I believe Mia her English voice actress was Emily Fajardo, I believe. I hope I'm not butchering that lady's name. And she was, and they had to like, I didn't realize that they were walking like underneath the ground, I guess, inside. And then they came up through the floor into like this great hall that they all had to clean, and you see all these different dolls. So when you see that, you know that there's a lot more shadows that's in the house as it's supposed to be, because they can't just show us a show with just one shadow and one doll. That would be a boring movie. So Mia introduces her to Rosemary, and Rosemary is supposed to be the team leader of the group that she's gonna be in, and it's gonna be 4 of them: Mia, Rosemary, and Lou. Lou is the other. So I believe, let me see, who voiced Lou? I'm gonna try and find that out. Let's see. Yes, Lou was voiced by Marissa Duran. And basically Rosemary was giving her like the rundown of the cleaning process, and Emilico became like so overwhelmed because she's never been out of that room before. It was just her room to Kate's room, and she kind of like passed out for a little bit from being so overwhelmed. And they made up like a cute little song about like the shadow house. I can't even remember it. So she got back to her room, and she was like covered in soot. And Emilico was telling her about meeting the other dolls and cleaning the hall. And Kate was like, you can't be in here dirty like that. And she sent her to get cleaned. I believe what do they call it? Probably, I believe the shadow remove room? No, that's not what it was. The soot remover. I guess it's like a steam it blows like steamed air and like blows off all the dust. And then she just went back to her cleaning. And I believe as she was cleaning, she knocked over. No, that was after. No, that wasn't after. No, I'm right. I'm correct in the scene. So she knocked over the vase, and Kate had a doll that was next to the vase, and she kind of used the doll to sop up some of the water, and Kate was like, super pissed off. I think that was that first fight that they had between Kate and Miliko. Kate just she looked like a little scraggly lion. The way she flared up and all the soot just surrounded her. That's what she reminded me of, like a scraggly lion, and then soot was crystallized in the ceiling. Poor Miliko. I felt bad for Miliko. She was just so sad. So Kate went to take a bath, and then Miliko tried to clean up the mess, and Miliko was pretty resourceful. She took the wet stuffing out of the doll, because the doll was pretty much ruined. That's why Kate was so mad. She took the wet stuffing, and put dry stuffing in, washed the cloth and let it dry by the fireplace. And in that time, she made a new doll, for herself as well. I think it looked like a little duck, a little ugly duck. That's what it was, a little ugly duck. And so she handed the doll, the one that she fixed for Kate, and they made up after that. Kate was saying that, I didn't tell you it was important to me, so you wouldn't have known. And they made up, and she showed Kate the doll that she made for herself, and she called it Rolly. And she said she's going to treasure it as well, the same way that Kate treasures her doll. So after they made up, she started cleaning, and she was out on the ledge, cleaning the outside of the window. I know for certain I'm not going out on any type of ledge to clean no type of window for nobody. No amount of money would make me do that. So in her apron that she has on, her cleaning apron she has on, she had Rolly in it, and her Rolly you can see Rolly slipping out of her pocket. And as Rolly fell out of her pocket, without thinking, she just jumped off the ledge to catch Rolly and landed in the bush. So Kate started to go out the room, but she was a bit hesitant. She was looking around she's not supposed to be out of her room. So she was looking around to see if there's anyone there. Then she started running out. And that house is a maze, because she ran through so many places and corridors. And then you see a little hint of a shadow that saw her running out. And then then she finally got outside and went over to Miliko, who luckily landed in the bushes, and told her to be more careful. And as they were walking back, they met Mia again, and this time Mia was with her shadow, Sarah, and she was a bitch. And she started talking about, oh, I see you haven't been debuted yet. And you can see Mia mimicking Sarah's expression. And Emilico was like talking back and said, oh, and Sarah's being mean like, oh, such a useless shadow talking back in like the condescending tone. She was being like, I don't believe you'll make it through debut. Grandfather may just kick you out. So now we're being introduced to a new character, Grandfather. He is the head of the Shadows House, and we're going to learn more about him at a later time. And as she tried to leave, her man standing like blocked their way, and it's like, can you see what face I am making? What face are you making, Kate? You don't have a face, do you? I'm like, Kate should have just smacked that bitch. But she was just calm and cool and collected. As you could tell that Kate is more aware like of all of the rules and stuff, but I guess she hasn't told Emilico like a lot. She kind of like let Emilico just be herself, and so Emilico is a little ignorant to a lot of stuff. So as they're like parting ways, like, you should be thankful that it was Sarah that you saw. And this faux pas would not be discussed. Like, she's not going to report it. So they went back to their house, and you just see Emilico sitting in her room, and like as they were going back, like before they got to the room, she said, like, Emilico just felt so bad because the trash talking that Sarah did. Because apparently, Emilico, like, a doll is not supposed to speak unless they're not supposed to speak at all, really. They're just supposed to show faces. I guess kind of like a meme, I would describe it. Like, they're supposed to be like a meme. Just show the faces that the shadow is trying to express. So that was something Emilica learned today. And I guess because of how Sarah was bashing her, she felt sad. And she was like, I'm sorry, Mistress Kate. What can I do to make to better? And Kate just said, take better care of yourself. So as they went to their room, back to their room, and Emilica went to her room, and I believe she bruised her knee. And she was like, she didn't get herself first aid. I feel like she's just completely oblivious to everything. Like, she doesn't know she needs to get first aid. So she decided if she went to sleep early, that her cut was going to heal just like that. So, but she couldn't sleep because of everything it would happen. And she's like, she kept thinking, she was like, a doll should not fret on trivial things. And that's like one of the things that they kept saying. Dolls should not fret over trivial things. That sounds like just a manipulation to me. Not fretting over trivial things. So she started to write in her journal what she was thinking about. What is a debut? And she asked a question that all of us probably were thinking in that episode. Whose grandfather? And what is Shadow House? She asked a big question. And as the episode was ending, you see Mia saying goodnight to her shadow master. And then she went to her little doll closet, is what I'm gonna say. And you see like soot all over her room. So that which tells you that Sarah was in her room. And it looks to me like Sarah is possessive, because I don't think Kate has ever went to Emilico's room. I don't, based on the episode, I don't think any of the shadows go to their respective dolls' room. So, and you see this kind of like grim, irritated smirk on Mia's face because she knew that her master was in there, and that's where the episode ends. Well, and I'm like, wow. And I'm looking forward to the next episode. And thank you guys for listening in. I hope you enjoyed this podcast and that you'll come back for more. Again, my name is Antoinette, and welcome. Thank you for listening to my podcast. Bye.